Good evening, friends. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I am planning to deal with the class 10 footprints without feet. This is a chapter taken from the supplementary footprints without feet, supplementary book of class 10. The chapter is dealing with footprints without feet. So at the beginning of this discussion, I would like to invite you to a scientist who is behind this particular chapter, working on it. That is none other than Griffin, the scientist. So as we grow up, scientists, or as scientists grow up, their knowledge is beyond comparison, and they want to invent new medicines for new technologies, or we can say new experiences. So I'm thinking that everywhere, all over the world, scientists, they have got some kind of a craving to discover new medicine for new things, and some succeed and some fail. And in this chapter, we have a scientist, eccentric scientist, who discovered a new medicine to make his body invisible, or we call it a transparent body. Through his hard work, he managed to find out a drug that could solve his problem. So he managed to find a drug that could make his body invisible and transparent. And his desire to go anywhere and appear in any place without anybody's knowledge was very much in high demand. So we can see he is running after a special drug that could solve his craving to be invisible. That is what we see in this particular supplementary reader, footprints without feet. So we are already knowing there cannot be any footprints without feet, and it is kind of a remarkable sight if we happen to see footprints without feet. Suppose you are walking on the roadside, or you are walking on the road, and there is lot of water, and it is muddy, and in front of you someone is walking without feet, only the footprints are seen. Definitely it is a remarkable sight, and you are going to collapse there and then, and you may be able to see yourself in heaven sometimes. So here is a particular situation where the two boys who were playing in the muddy water happened to suddenly observe two remarkable footprints without feet, taking the advantage of the two boys playing in the muddy water. So here we have two boys playing in the muddy water, and they happen to notice suddenly a remarkable sight of footprints without feet. So here, beginning itself, I had to tell you that here is a scientist who wanted to become invisible, and when he started this desire in his mind, definitely he had no bad intention, but as he perfected himself and consumed this medicine, he became invisible, body became transparent, and he was able to go along with this boy's footprints, so that nobody would be able to identify or find out that these footprints are invisible footprints. So this happened, and suddenly the boys noticed that remarkable sight of footprints, and they began to follow. So we have one occasion when we see something strange, we like to follow till the end where it ends, and naturally we are want to find the reason for that footprints. So the boys had a great ambition to find out how do these footprints appear without a feet. So they began to trace out. As a result of their quest and tracing out, they found that someone is actually like a ghost moving in front, and surprisingly it is a footprints. So definitely they were very, very scared, and gradually the footprints in the muddy water fainted as they were moving out. So these two boys did not give again much attention, since it disappeared altogether. Okay, so we can see that Griffin, this scientist, made many experiments, and finally he succeeded to get a drug after several times of experiments, and he consumed that drug, and he became invisible, and his body became transparent, which means nobody could see him visibly unless and until he keeps his foot on the muddy water and on the dust, and wherever somebody can see the prints. So unfortunately, where the two boys were playing, he happened to move, and his footprints were observed by these two boys, and to their strange, remarkable sight, they started following him, and suddenly, all of a sudden, his footprints disappeared, or we can say fainted. And he was also, as after consuming this drug which made him invisible, he really became a lawless person in the society. He was not afraid of anything. He was trying to take the law in his hand and making the society to suffer a lot. Even in the place where he was staying, his landlord disliked him like anything and tried to eject him out because of his bad behavior. In revenge to that landlord's behavior, he also took another step. What is that? He set fire to the house. You imagine, he set the house into flame. So, and from there we can see he started wandering different places, and the writer says he became a homeless wanderer without clothes, without money, and quite invisible. So this is the status of the man who was craving for a particular drug to make himself invisible. Now, he happened to be noticed by these two boys who were playing on the muddy water, because he thought of taking the advantage of the footprints of the boys. But boys they didn't give in to they didn't just rule out the footprints or remarkable sight. They started following, and he escaped easily enough from the boys who followed his footprints. That also in London. So this entire setup is in London city. Just imagine and see, where people are very cautious and they are very luxurious and living very happily. And here he comes as a mysterious figure to disturb the peace of the mind of the people. And he had chosen a bad time of the year to wander about the London without clothes, especially the time was winter, and therefore he was bitterly needed some clothes to cover himself up, because it was a winter season and he was not getting any warmth, and he started finding a place in order to escape the winter. Imagine, he was able to give himself the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself without regard to any expense. He even broke open boxes, wrappers, and fitted himself with warm clothes, etc. And he became a fully dressed and visible person. He also entered into some restaurant because he was very hungry. He wanted to eat, and he broke open some almirahs of the restaurant, and he had a very heavy meal, free meal, so to say. And like that, he spent the night there with a quilt, and under the blanket he settled for one night. And you can imagine that in the next day, when the people came to open the shop, he ran out with all what he had put on himself, and there he became a thief. Imagine, when he saw a couple of them running behind him, he started throwing the cap, throwing the clothes, and he ran for his life. Finally, under these circumstances, he managed to escape that locality and went to another place. From time to time, he started changing his style, his dressing, and his appearance, so that people in London or police at the station may not be able to find out who the person is. And he was very eager to escape from crowded London. He took a train to the village of Iping. So that is a place where he was trying to escape, and he reached the place called Iping village. And there arrival, he reached there, and as he arrived there, he went to the lodge, he took a room, and the owner of the lodge was very skeptic and suspicious about this particular man who came to take the room. So here we have Mrs. Hall, the landlord's wife, made every effort to be friendly, but since Griffin was really an eccentric scientist, he was not ready to be very friendly with the wife of landlords, and even in talking and chatting, he was very, very rough and tough. So they had some suspicion about him, but they were not ready to encounter the person with their suspicion. Maybe since he is a scientist, he is eccentric, and he may have his own way of talking and dealing with the people. So they were not very much coming forward to encounter. At the same time, we can see Griffin is already telling to the lady that he wanted to have some solitude. He wanted to be all alone. because he had some personal work to do. But imagine his face and his appearance was very, very deceptive, and she had some doubt about him, but she was not able to clear the doubts. Things went on, and one more thing we need to remember here is that he had enough money at this time in his hand to give for the lodge. So she was not very much worried about who the person is, but she received what she wanted. So there was no much fear of losing money. But suddenly Griffin Griffin was running short of money. He didn't get enough money in his hand, even though he could become invisible and get money from anywhere. But he had run short of money. Then he will not be able to stay in the hostel. So what did he do? He started stealing the money from the next door. There was a clergyman living there. Clergyman here is referring to a priest or a pastor looking after the Christian community or Catholic community. So what did he do? He went to the clergyman's house and he stole the money from there. And because of some noises in the study room, his wife, the clergyman's wife, appeared, and creeping downstairs, they heard the ching of money being taken from the clergyman's desk. So some money was missing from the clergyman's desk, and so he started he started doubting. He started to think about some extraordinary affairs, meaning to say, where do we find extraordinary affairs? Yes, it is referring to some ghost experience. So like clergymen, priests, they encounter extraordinary spirits, and they deliver the possessed people. And so the clergy was doubting the disappearance of money is the work of some ghost or a bad spirit taking away the money. And so he doubted, and he said that it is an extraordinary affair, because he spoke this phrase in the context of the work of even devil. And then this extraordinary affair, as he said, was not an extraordinary as the behavior of Mrs. Hull's furniture a little later that morning. Again, after that incident, when he was returning back to the lodge, he started disturbing Mrs. Hull, who was the owner of the lodge. He took the chair and he started playing with the chair invisibly and frightened her, because she wanted to inquire more about the presence of his stay in the lodge and what really happened. And the opportunity seemed too good to be missed. They were too curious. Now, not only clergyman's doubt, here there is another doubt of Mrs. Hall, who was actually frightened by the appearance or the movement of the chair, her own chair. And when the chair started moving, she began to feel that it is something bad for her. Why? Because she said like this, "My poor mother used to sit in that chair," she moaned, "to think it should rise up against me now." So the chair was rising, lifted upon her to hit her. So she even doubted that her mother's spirit is moving the chair and trying to hit her. So another incident where she was frightened. And gradually we can see that all the neighbors began to realize the trouble of that locality. They started coming together, they started gathering together, and when they gathered together they began to speak about the witchcraft. You know who is a witchcraft, who is doing malicious things in the society, making people to suffer and doing some harm to others, and making unnecessary figures appearance here and there. They do some kind of magical work to make things worse in the society. So that is a witchcraft here we are talking about. Even though they suspected it as a witchcraft, the doubt started more and more stronger and stronger, especially the clergyman, his wife, and the owner of the lodge. They started doubting a lot. Why? Because normally they don't believe in this kind of things, but they had already some kind of a suspicion on Mr. Griffin, the scientist, who was appearing there with a kind of a deceptive appearance. So they had a lot of suspicion on him first itself. So the strangest scientist was strongly suspected of having had a hand in it. They already started doubting about it. So suspicion grew stronger and stronger. Hello, you have to move a little bit. Your reflection is on this one. Yes.
That means from before it is seen already.
No, before you are laying down, it's not seen.
Now also can see. That part you have to remove it. Again, you should start after the witch.
So the question is, they started thinking it is a witch. Whether it is a witch or not, they really started the suspicion on the scientist, the eccentric scientist who came to stay there. At the beginning itself, Mrs. Hall had this suspicion, but however, she didn't publish that openly before others. And here we can see the hand of the strange scientist, strongly suspected of having a hand in it. So the suspicion grew stronger and stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash, though he had admitted not long before that he had no money. And finally, the village people, especially under the leadership of the clergyman and the owner of the lodge, they quietly tried to inform the village constable secretly. But here, instead of waiting for the village constable, Mrs. Hall went to the scientist who had somehow mysteriously appeared from his empty bedroom. So she started questioning him. So she asked one question like this: I want to know what you have been doing to my chair upstairs, she demanded, and I want to know how it is you came out of an empty room and how you entered a locked room. So here there is already a great strong suspicion about his presence. Now the scientist was always quick tempered, as we know. He was very, very lawless. He did not want to follow any rules, so he was very, very quick to answer. He became very angry. He became very furious. You don't know, you don't understand who or what I am, he shouted. Very well, I will show you. Suddenly, he threw all his bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and even nose. You look at that. Even all these things which was artificially fixed on him was thrown away, and he started horrifying the people around there, staring everyone was another important thing. Everyone started staring at the headless man. Look at that. There stood in front of them a headless man. And when there is no head, who will not get frightened of that horrific sight? All of a sudden, Mr. Jaffers, the constable of the area, arrived. And what happened finally? When he arrived, he had to arrest a man without a head. Very interesting. But Jaffers was not easily prevented from doing his duty. And the thing is that if a magistrate's warrant ordered a person's arrest, then that person had to be arrested with or without his head. Very interesting. And then there followed a remarkable scene as the policeman tried to get hold of a man who was becoming more and more invisible as he threw off one garment after another. Finally, a shirt flew into the air, and the constable found himself struggling with someone who could not see at all. Some people tried to help him, but found themselves hit by blows that seemed to come from nowhere. So finally we can see at the end Jaffers was knocked unconscious as he made a last attempt to hold on to the unseen scientist. There were nervous, excited cries of hold him. But this was easier said than done. Look at that. Here there is a phrase which is very, very important for you to think. But this was easier said than done. We can say hold him, touch him, bind him, but it was impossible for people around there to chain him or catch him. So it is very easy to say than done. It is very, very difficult to put into practice certain things. So from this particular supplementary reader, you come to know certain things of our life. It is easier. It was easy. This was easier said than done. Many times this can happen to our life. It is easier to say, or it is easier to talk than done. To do, we need a different courage, a different atmosphere. We can say so many things. We can say nice, good words always, but it is also very, very hard to do certain things because of the surroundings and because of the situations. We may fail to accomplish what we want to do when our situation is beyond our understanding. So my dear students as well as listeners, we must try our best to see that we must try to stop saying it is easier to say and it is very difficult to catch. We must try our level best to compliment, or we must try to understand what is being said here, but this was easier said than done. This was easier said than done. Catching him was their main intention, and everybody is telling catch him, hold him. In our society also it is like that only. When somebody is doing something wrong, we always say, catch him, hold him, keep him, don't allow him to go. But we should also see in what situations and in what circumstances the person is moving around. So sometimes we find it very, very difficult to catch the criminal. Catch him, but the criminals are always criminals. They are knowing very well how to escape, how to skip the hands, how to run away from the hands. So we must learn to always find things that can go together. We have to say at the same time we must do. Everyone is afraid to catch him because he was giving blows. He was angry, he was furious. We also must know when we try to point out somebody, we will get some blows, we will get some confrontation, we will get some opposition, confrontation, and rejection can be there, but we must try our level best to hold on to our views. So this is the thing that we are understanding from this particular supplementary reader, Footprints Without Feet. It's a very nice piece of reading. You must read, try to pause some places where you are holding each and every line very carefully and try to understand its meaning with its depth in the context of the story itself. So as we are advancing in our knowledge, we have so much knowledge, we have so many inventions, discoveries. Scientists are on one side, philosophers are on the other side, and there are people who are very intellectual, highly intellectuals. They also think a lot, they also find so many things. We must be humble to accept it is God who gives us the wisdom and knowledge to invent new medicines for a good purpose. We should not use, from this particular piece of reading, you understand that we should not use anything for a wrong purpose, to become invisible and to hurt the society in different ways. So here we come to know that everything that is created in this world by human being is meant for a good purpose, not for bad intention. Just like the Griffin, eccentric scientist who wanted to move around without any law and rules and regulations and go around cheating and stealing money, enjoying his life. You see, he was not able to enjoy his life for a long period of time. He was immediately observed by others. We also, if we misuse our medicine, we also will be in great danger one day or the other. So let us pray, let us reflect, let us think for a while that everything that is created in this universe is for man's good health, good purpose, and we must try only to that extent, not more than that. And we should not be aspiring to be above God. God is above everything, and only God is invisible. Only God can be here and there at the same time. He is omnipresent. We are trying to become omnipresent. By the way, when we become omnipresent, we are actually falling into great danger. Someone may say, if I were to be a bird, I could fly everywhere and see the whole universe. But imagine you are a small bird, but you also must know there are bigger birds, mightier than you, in the sky. They will eat you up. Will you be able to reach your destination? Will you be able to accomplish your wish? No. So it is better to be what we are in our own situations, in our own area. Thank you. You try to read more and more this lesson so that you will understand much more better than what I have said. But when you read, stress more on certain words so that you will understand correctly the meaning of each and every line. Thank you.